Hello and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast, A Rich Comic Life. My name is Richard Gill and my blog describes my experiences of watching well over 1,000 comedians for nearly 50 years. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today. It's the wonderful Mr. Jed Salisbury. Yay! Hello, my friend.
I love it. You was like, you go bananas. It's like, no one's going to go that crazy. And you went fully rich. I love the energy.
I love comedy, as you can clearly tell. How are you? You all right?
You know what? I'm absolutely great, man. Like, life's a charm. Things are going all right. Success is going the right way. Just good vibes, man. Good vibes.
You and me both. I genuinely sat there the other day thinking there must be something to worry about.
Well, I've got worries, but what I do is I just put them down, bury them.
Yeah,
bury them, will be fine.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and the interview is going to be all about your comedy career. And
right.
To kick off and ask you first, how did you become a comedian in the first place?
Oh man, it's not that exciting. I was talking to a comedian this week and he was like, oh yeah, I was clowning in Canada and then I started stand-up, whereas mine, I was in college and I'm not a very pretty guy, Rich, so I heard you can charm girls by being funny, so I was like, oh, let's try that, and then got really good at the funny bit and not on any of the charm bit. Someone was like, you should try stand-up, and I was just arrogant enough to try it. And then my English teacher at the time used to be in a sketch group, so He started marking my jokes. I'd write jokes and they'd come back going, you need to move this. And then I did a day course called the art of stand-up, and at the end of that course you did a comedy gig, and that's how I started. Yeah, just by not being attractive and being
So what year was the comedy course?
Oh, so this was 2009. I would have done my first gig. So I've
been going a fair while.
Yeah, a fair while, but not really, because I don't class myself as like a 13-year veteran, because I was quite lazy with it. I'd do like a gig every 3 months and dipping in and out. Like, it wasn't consistent until I kind of dropped out of uni, got a job in a call center, and I went, oh, this is awful. I best start with this stand-up stuff that I actually like.
So when you first started, did you take a friend along to your gigs and you were doing like 5 minutes in a pub? Is that how it began, or?
Yeah, so I started with one of my best friends. We both started getting into comedy together, and I'll be honest, I don't drive, so like when we're getting these gigs in Halifax and stuff, I was only getting £30 EMA money-wise, but my friends would drive me across there and stuff like that. So I actually I owe it all to my friends, because the amount of effort they put to get me to gigs and stuff.
Wow.
I don't think I would have done it without them. So
wow.
Yeah, there was a couple of comedians I started with, and yeah, just driving all around Yorkshire, just doing 10 minutes here and there, doing a lot of gong shows at clubs like Mr. Ben's or Beat the Frog, stuff like that.
I've told many a comic this true story of my first and only foray into stand-up comedy. I had a go myself, because I've seen so many of you, and I used to know a promoter, and I said, I can remember all the comics' jokes. When I'm in a pub, I can recite them, and I think I'm very funny. I'd like to have a go myself. And he said, well, we've got a gong show at I can't remember where it was, but it was for old people.
Okay.
So I did a little script, and he said, oh yeah, this is great, and I walked out, and the first thing I said to 3 of them who were there was, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. People think I look like Eddie the Eagle Edwards, the ski jumper, but I can't see the resemblance myself. And of course, as I'd grown up, I'd been his double. And one bloke in the back just went, fuck off! Cut me off!
Yeah, no, that's a good show.
I walked off, and the promoter went, "Have another go." I went, I think my home is in the audience, supporting you all." But it was an experience, and I think having said that, I think it is all about experience. Would you agree? Being a comedian, the more you do, the better you are at it.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's real weird. You do all the shit gigs when you start your career, and you're like, I don't know. Like I don't know. I think it sounds weird. I started with a load of comedians around the same time because we all kind of qualified this show, and it sounds like I was better than them, so I always felt like I was good. Like I wasn't good.
That's confidence, my friend.
Like I was like, so I had this kind of arrogance of, I must be quite good because I'm better than. I don't know. Maybe I just because I took to it naturally or something like that. So that was like a reason when I first started. I was like, yeah, I'm quite good at this, and I wasn't.
That's brilliant.
I was just like the least moldy of the grapes.
What an analogy. The least people give me testimonials for my blog, and the least mouldy of all grapes is quite genius. I think I might use that myself.
You're welcome to. Man. You're welcome to.
So when you're on stage, right, what do you like to talk about? Do you have any specific themes or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know. I just kind of whatever I'm finding funny at the time or what amuses me. Like, sometimes like last night I was gigging, and I don't know how we got there, but I was emceeing, and there was this lovely older couple, and I decided to make sure, like, tell them that they could have their own sex show, like on Channel 4, where they go around like doing all these sex shows, and then it was just like sometimes I like the naughty and the perverse, but then I also like the whimsical, so we mixed it up a little. I don't know. I don't try to narrow myself to one thing. I like whatever I want to talk about or whatever feels right in the room. Like I tend to compare a lot, so you tend to get the vibe of the room, and whatever feels right in the room, I tend to go with that. I think I'm quite good at just going, let's just try and make something funny.
Do you prefer comparing to performing a routine?
I would say I'm better at it.
Right. Why?
But I don't know. Because it's less structured. Less structured. Well, it's not. It's less structured in that way of more freedom. Like I can do what I want. I can go and have you. There's less, maybe a little less pressure. Because if I start doing badly, I can be like, all right, well, let's reset this room, guys. We're gonna have British comedians tonight. Let's get that guy on. And a couple of times, I've been shaking the axe and going, sorry about that. But I don't know. I think yeah, just the less structure of it. But then what'll happen is I'll compare a lot of gigs in a row, and then I want to go, and then you get that at the end of the audience going, "Oh, you're just as funny as comedians," and you're like, "I am a comedian."
What is wonderful about both you and Gary Jennison, who we'll come to later with the whole comedy festival, is I've seen you both at Hastings and at Leicester, and the first time I saw you at Leicester, the act that we were due to see couldn't make it, and you were asked to step in at the last minute, which is daunting for any comedian. But I can't remember two greater comics to entertain an audience more in the time that you were given. So well done, both of you.
Seriously, Rich, that coming from you and how much stand-up you've seen, thank you so much. That genuinely means a lot, man. Thank you.
So, do you have any idea what you're going to talk about in a situation like that?
I just done a show the night before, so I luckily had like my set and that kind of thing. And Gary prefers comparing to do a set, so I knew I had to do a set, so that was kind of that. But in them, I don't know, man. It's where we're situated in Hull. You couldn't gig every week. And you're not turning up to gigs where they're ideal. You're not, some people, they're not in a dark room. Not everyone's close, and you turn up to some horror sites. And I don't know what it is in my head as a comedian, but no matter how bad the gig is that I've turned up to, and there's been some bad ones, and we can talk about them. Trust me, I have never in my head gone, I'm not going to go on. I'll just walk away. I will always go on. Like there could be a fire, and they'd be like, "You got to perform now." And I'd be like, "All right, looks like it's my time to do." There's just something in me that's like feels like stage time is so precious that I'm here to perform, and I'll perform to my best ability, no matter what's going on.
I always remember I went to Edinburgh. We'll move on to Edinburgh later, but I went to the Fringe one year, and I was with a friend of mine who was asked to write a review for a newspaper, and we didn't have a clue who the comedian was. He was a decent comedian, but he walked on, and there was about 4 people in the audience, and he went, "Hello, Edinburgh. Oh, there's only 4 of you here. Thank you very much for coming along. I'll buy you all a drink. But I'm not going to perform to 4 people." And one bloke in the front row had his arms folded, and he went, "No, I've paid my £6. I want the act." And he had to do it for the hour. He was brilliant. It was fine, but it was like the show has to go on, and to have the attitude like you've got, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of them. I mean, if I woke up in that situation, I'd be like, "All right, I can't do the show that as it was planned, but maybe we can make a little circle, and we can make it a bit more interactive."
Yeah.
You can get an hour's entertainment out of me. Like there's just nothing. I've turned up to gigs where there's been 2 people and we've travelled 6 hours. I've turned up where there's 1,000 people, and it's one of them where I'm like, you're gonna get the same 100% energy from me. I'm not here to not give it my all wherever I am. And also, I've been in situations where I'm doing like corporate stuff, and you're like, "Oh, this is horrible," but I'm still giving it 100%. I remember hosting a fashion show. I mean, I don't know anything about fashion. Honestly, I thought Chinos was a Mexican gang, but there I am, right? And I'm giving it my all, and I'm just going back to this sound guy, and the runners of the show keep just piling more and more crap on me to do. And I'm back with this sound guy, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And this sound guy's like, "Why are you doing all this?" I was like, "Because I've been booked to do a job." Yeah. And then it turned out this sound guy was the manager of the club, and they were running a comedy night, and then that got me in there with them just because he was like, "I've never seen someone work harder," because he just committed to a thing.
I was just going to say, it's the work ethic, isn't it? You've got to commit yourself. Okay, so following on from that, tell me about your writing process, if you've got one, for a routine or a show. How do you go about thinking about your ideas and getting them ready?
So I'm one of them, right, who cannot do any writing in 3 months. Won't pick up a pen, won't even look at it, and then all of a sudden there'll be a new 10, just straight away from nowhere.
Wow!
I have written set going to club. So what I tend to do is, because I'm kind of a bit more on the established circuit now, and I've pushed myself a little bit, I'll still book in open mic nights.
Right.
Still book them in. Now I just tend to do them closer to home, so I don't tend to lose money. But I'll have them booked in and go, when you go to that night, you are not doing any of your established material. So you've got to get there, and you're doing 10 minutes, and you know it's local, so you've already got a reputation, you're quite good.
Yeah,
you've got to then go deliver some material, and then like, I don't know, it's that same way I got through college and university was like the deadline I needed. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't do my work in advance. I'd always need that deadline, and I'd push it close to the deadline. So that deadline sparks something in me where I'm like, let's just start writing. And then putting stuff together is just like a jigsaw, really, of I've got this idea, and I'll just roll it around my head, think of which ways I'll say it that are funny, which ways aren't funny, twist it around, and then I'll get on stage and say it, and then edit as I...
What's wonderful listening to you is that you appear to be taking the art of comedy as a job, whereas for me, it's a passion. And it's wonderful that you have the work ethic. I've just got a new job at a council, which I love, and of course you have to have deadlines and all the rest of it. But to hear you talking the way that you do is so good, because it's the old prepare to fail, fail to prepare, isn't it? You know. So
and the reason I do treat it like a job is because I'm passionate, and the passion isn't I want to do comedy. I want to be good at it. You know what I mean? I want that sort of I want people to go, I really enjoyed that guy, and that's where the passion comes from. I'm like, if I want people, because if you, it's like anything, man. If you don't, a painter just doesn't pick up a brush and he's perfect. You practice, you practice, you practice,
Yeah,
and you know the world's best footballer will tell you he trains. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He
yeah.
treats it like a job. He gets up, he does this thing, and that's what I try to do because you're not going to get good by just being passionate.
So, what do you think makes a good comedian? I think you've partly answered that.
Trauma.
Expand.
I think the best comedians are the saddest ones. That's
Oh.
but do you know, like they're the ones that oh, because the world's a bit shit, right? And we have to expose ourselves to this, and then we have to go, well, how do I make this funny? And I think that only comes from having a lifetime of trauma.
Yeah,
of being the guy of being like, how do I pick this up? You know what I mean? And you see it in day-to-day life, man. Like I just did a gig for Alcoholics in Recovery and stuff like that. And they're so fast with their humor and stuff. And it's like it's a shielding mechanism and stuff like that. But that's where it comes from. It's, you know, I think a little bit of trauma makes a person funnier.
I think that's true. I think what's wonderful about you is that you're relatable on stage,
Yeah.
and I think that what happens, what you describe to people, they can relate to it so well, and therefore once you've got them, you can you practically talk about anything you want,
Yeah.
and they're with you all the way, and that's a great trick to have.
Yeah, I think I try to make the friends with the audience straight away. I like, you know, I adhere to them. You know, I let them know, look, this is comedy. We're here for a good time. I don't do anything particularly shocking. I don't say anything where someone will be offended. You know what I mean? I'm not pushing boundaries or envelopes. I'm here for a good time. And,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I want to have fun. You have fun. And we're all having fun. That's a good thing for me.
that's brilliant. You mentioned before about bad comedy gigs.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you ever having a bad comedy gig because you're so good. But what would be? Have you got any best and worst comedy gigs? Was there any that you thought, yes, I can do this and I can do this well, or is there any that just went tits up?
So my best one is kind of a little personal cheat talking about trauma. My auntie was passing away, and she'd always been a big fan of my comedy. So we did like a comedy fundraiser for her,
Right.
and like I hosted it, did all the stand up for it, and like it was a great thing. And
That's
it was
lovely.
it was the first time as well where my family went, "Oh, he's actually good at this thing," and it stopped being "Oh, you're still doing your comedy thing." To how's the gigs going? Like, do you know, like it was one of them where they went,
Yeah. That's great.
just...
Where they realise that
Yeah.
you're good at doing it. That's fantastic.
And so that was, for me, that's like a personal highlight.
Yeah.
Difficult ones, man. Like, so I don't mind having a bad gig. If I turn up and it's a rough room and I don't get any jokes out and it's just, you know what I mean? I think that's better. You know what I really hate, Richard? And it's going to sound weird. I hate turning up to a gig and doing okay. Because if I've turned up and given 100%, and if the crowd has just gone mad, like I wasn't bad, but I wasn't good, I don't know how to step that up to a next gear.
Right.
If I go do well, brilliant, that's what I want. If I go do bad, I can be like, all right, well, maybe I need to work on this in the room, this stuff to go away with. But if I just do okay, what am I meant to do? You know what I mean? There's no fix for it there. But I mean, I turned up to one gig where like the sound equipment didn't turn up. It was at a football club in Bridlington. The sound equipment didn't turn up because on the way to the gig, the guy bringing the sound equipment just got arrested for murder. And you're like, wow, that's a random gig. Or I turned up to gigs on Valentine's Day where the first thing I did when I got into the venue was get offered heroin. I was like, oh wow, like they're wild stories, but you're like, they're not in an environment where you're gonna have a bad gig.
No.
If you go to an established comedy club and then you bomb, that's a bad gig. Because
it's like though when you say where do you go if you want to do an okay gig? If you look at somebody like Eric Morecambe or Tony Hancock, they kept bettering themselves. They were never satisfied with the performance, and they had to keep going. Eric Morecambe was infamously always on. So when his daughter or son would take their prospective boyfriends and girlfriends to see him, there would always be jokes, and that is extraordinary. That just calm it down, because we know you don't need to do that. But it's fascinating, because I can imagine when you are on stage, the adrenaline rush must be extraordinary, because it's certainly that from the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it, and it's addictive, and it's something I've had to learn to switch off now as an adult. When I was in my 20s and stuff, I'd find myself in nightclub smoking areas comparing the room. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be talking to people, what do you do for a living? What do you student? All of that. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm trying to have a good night out, and I'm just back at work. So I've kind of stepped back on that, and like I try to now just switch it on for stage, but it's always, I'm a natural performer. It's naturally in my energy.
That's brilliant.
When I do teaching and stuff now, so when I do teach, I make sure it's in there. I'm like pausing for laughs, and I'm like, there's no laughs on the math equation, is there? What's going on? You know what I mean?
I think it's lovely, the gig that you did for your auntie, and I'm sorry for you. Just before lockdown, I lost my mum, and my brother. Thank you. My brother. We both went back up to Carlisle, where we're from, and obviously.
Oh, I'm sorry again.
Yeah, and and my brother said to me, "Go to your comedy, because you'll be fine. You've done really well, and looking after everybody and everything."
Yeah.
And so I went on the Friday night, and the Noise Next Door were on, who I know really well. And it was packed out. They'd never played Carlisle before, and I'm sitting there with a pint of beer in the back row in the dark, really low, and obviously, understandably,
not like you, that
really, really low. And they bounded on, and they went, "Hello, Carlisle. Can anybody tell me anything good about Carlisle?" And somebody yelled out, "Carlisle United." I said, we'll have that, the football club. And can anybody tell me anything bad about Carlisle United? And some bastard yelled out, "Richard Gill." And they went, "Is he here? He's normally in London." And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. I ended up on stage singing with them. And they so helped me through my grief. And it's moments like that just make it magical.
It is. Like, my auntie was there at the gig, and it was one of the last things she ever did, and she had a great time. We got her favourite. Weirdly, my English teacher was in the sketch group. He was her favourite headliner, so we got them on the Live Naked Idiots, and it was just a great time. We raised money for her to go see the Northern Lights and stuff like that. But I think brilliant. It's good. These are weird stories. So one of my a fellow comic. Kind of kid I took under my wing when he first started, and was a bit of a mentor to. He lost his brother due to COVID, and like he was back home for it. He was real depressed, and what I did, I went and booked us a gig in Leeds. I went, "Come on, we're gigging in Leeds," and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, we're going," and he was like, "Why?" I was like, "Because he's having to deal with the loss of his brother and." Sort all that out. I was like, because for the next hour, all you've got to worry about is being funny for that 10 minutes on that stage. And even to this day, he thanks me because it helped him through. And
sometimes that is amazing. What a great story, and what a great friend.
And I won't say it would work for everyone, but I think comics are that way inclined. I went straight from my grandma's wake to a gig because in my head I was like, I need. It's that distraction of where nothing in the world matters.
Yeah.
Because right now my job is to be funny on stage, and that is what I'm going to do. And I'm a bit wired like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of them things. It's not for everyone. Some people can't do it, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
And sometimes grief is too much. But for me, I think that just distraction of right, time to just suck up and do what I do. And then, it goes well, and it's a reminder of like, okay, I feel happy. There's happiness in the world. This is good.
That's brilliant. What a wonderful way of looking at it. That's just fantastic. With all your confidence on stage, right?
Yeah.
At every gig that you do, okay. Have you ever had nerves? Do you suffer with nerves at all? And if you do, how do you cope with them?
Oh yeah, I mean, in day-to-day life itself, man, I have anxiety, I have
Oh
panic
dear.
attacks and stuff like that. And so like the thing is, Rich, when it comes to comedy, I know what I'm doing, I'm prepared. I can do comedy. It's, I do get nervous. I can get nervous performing in 10 people, I get nervous performing in front of 100 people. But I use that and I kind of psych that up. But I think nerves is the reason. If I stop feeling nervous, that's the adrenaline of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I start doing comedy and I start feeling nothing about it, that's when we've got a problem, because I'm not excited about it. I'm not passionate about it. You know what I mean? I want it to go well. That's why the nerves are there.
Would you say that as soon as you get your first laugh, the nerves will go away?
No, I think I'm nervous through the whole thing.
Right.
I really do. Like, I'm very good at alluding to confidence and looking confident, but I think like
deep down,
like I mean, it depends on gigs. Sometimes you get to a gig and get your first laugh, and you're like, I had a really good one this weekend on Saturday. I was sandwiched between Rob Rouse and Scott Bennett.
Oh,
right. Who
arguably perfect.
Are two of the best comedians in the world.
Yeah.
But also, they're two of the best comedians in the world, and now I'm the meat in that sandwich.
Also as well, all three of you have now done the podcast.
There you go.
So thank you.
Because I kept joking.
What a bill that is. That's brilliant.
I'm the only one that's not done live at the Apollo, but at least
your time will come, my friend. Your time will come.
And it was one of them. That gig, I turned up, got my first laugh. It was a big laugh, and I went, "Oh no, I'm fine. I can do this. I can hold my own potentially with these two."
Yeah.
But then, some audiences, these different audiences, some audiences, once you get that first joke out, they go, "We trust this guy." They'll ease off. They'll go with you on the journey. Some will be like, "Haha, that's funny," but I still don't. It's a reset audience.
Yeah. You can still be.
They laugh once, but then you've got to earn that laugh extra time. And with them gigs, I can't get not unnervous because every joke I'm battling. Whereas sometimes audience will go with you and be like, "Well, we trust you completely. Let's go." And I've edited my set for that. My set opens with big jokes, quick one-liners.
Yeah.
Before I go into stories to win an audience over early, so I can take them on adventures.
Yeah.
That's how I've sort of done it to deal with my nerves. I've got short jokes to get quick laughs.
Brilliant. Following on from that, how do you remember all your routines? Do you have pointers in your head? Do you write things down? How do you remember it all?
I have a notebook and I tend to go through that. I don't remember it all, but the guy who taught the comedy course was called Dave Gibson, and he was a great comedian. Unfortunately, I think he stopped. But I remember the first Saturday, I used to have it all listed on my hand. And I kept, he watched me at a gig, and I'd tell a joke, look at my hand, tell the next joke type thing. He grabbed me outside, grabbed my hand and covered it and went, "Tell me your set." And I went through my set and I got it all right, and then get it off your hand because it's now a safety net.
Yeah.
And I've got rid of that now. I have a vague idea what I'm going to say, but I'll wing it. You know what I mean? I'll try and keep to my timings. Yeah. I never really overrun. But
it's amazing. It's amazing either how many people have the set on the hands, or they have a notebook on them and never look at it. But because it's like a prop, not a prop, but because it's there.
It's a comfort blanket, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And when I do new stuff, I may do that just because not because I need the reminders. It's more I don't want to miss anything out, because if I'm doing new stuff, I'm trying to fill it, and I don't want to be like, I'm there to try it. I don't want to forget to try it and then be like, I've got to wait till next time to try that now.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I try to remember bigger shows. When me and Gary do our kids show, it's quite a lot, and because there's two of us, we do have like a headline for each bit of the show.
Yeah.
So we'll just have whatever's coming next. So it won't be a description or anything. It'll just be a word. So we both know what that word means this next 10 minutes is going to be.
That's brilliant. Let's move on to fringes and festivals. I am very lucky to be able to go to Edinburgh, which I've been since 2005. I go there every year. But this particular last year, I've expanded more. I've been to Leicester, Hastings again, I'm going to Buxton. I want to come to the Hull Comedy Festival. First off, tell me about how the Hull Comedy Festival started. How did it begin? What was your idea for it?
So we did.
Because you two run it, don't you?
We run it now, but we didn't start it.
Right.
So it was John Gilbert. He ran a thing called Esky. He was a marketing man who loved comedy, essentially.
Right.
And so it's comedy festival started before I started doing comedy. I think it's 15 years old now. He just wanted to put a festival on, so he did it and stuff like that. And he ran it for a few years, and then the local promoter took over. And then one year, it was just a bad year. Shows didn't sell. I came on board like a few years in. I started working the doors and stuff. And then that year, I started running. I got my own little venue and was like, I'm going to do like free fringe. So I put 20 shows on, like for people to come do it. And then the festival got pulled 2 weeks beforehand. But like I'd sold tickets and people were still coming. So we transferred it to the Hilarious Festival that year because we didn't have the rights. So it was called the Hilarious Fringe. And then my 20 shows still went ahead. And then the year after, John Gilbert took control again. He took it off the local promoters, Martin and Mel, who were great people. I think it's just like sometimes, these things are really difficult and sometimes it just falls apart.
Yeah.
And I came on as a creative director. And then the year after, he was like, look, I don't want to run it. Would you like to take over? And I was like, well, I don't want to run it alone. And I just started doing stuff with Gary. We just kind of ran a few events and stuff. So I was like, well, why don't we bring Gary in and we'll work together? I'll be the director, he'll be the creative director. And then we took over, and then we had City of Culture. That was a big year.
Yeah.
And we've been running it ever since, really.
Well, good on you. And it's is it October, November?
Every November. So it's this year it's the 31st till the 18th of November.
Well, I'm definitely making a point of coming to see you, definitely, because it's one that's always been elusive for me. I don't know why, because I know Yorkshire and Hull and Scarborough and Leeds very well. My cousins used to live in Menston, so in Leeds, so I know all around there really, really well. And I wish you every success with it, because you two, it couldn't be in better hands, I tell you.
Thanks, man. That is all down to Gary. I will say that.
I was going to say, how did you two meet? Was it just at a gig, or did you know each other?
So, right, I went out on a Saturday night, Richard, and I got absolutely shit-faced drunk.
Really?
I got absolutely drunk. I was like 25. I think I'd been gigging for a few years. And then I got this phone call from a random dude, and I was like, hello, and he's like, oh, I got your number, you're the comedian, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. He was like,
direct as ever.
Yeah. do you want to come headline a gig for me? I'll pay you 100 quid. And I was like, I've never been paid to do comedy in my life. Headline a gig? That's like, I've only got 15 minutes. What am I? And I just went, absolutely, I do. Right? And then he just talked to me for an hour. He wouldn't get off the phone. And I was there like, oh, I really want this 100 quid, so I'm just staying on this phone talking to him. As you met Gary, he ran, so I'm looking for it. But like,
two of you complement each other perfectly.
I'm like, because I'm quite reserved. Like, I'll stay to myself. I know people. I'll be chatting, but he'll chat to anyone. And he's chatting to me this hour, and I'm like, oh man, I just really want this. I just really want this gig money, right?
Yeah.
And then we met at that gig, and then Hull's a small circuit, so you tend to work with each other quite a lot. So he was like, well, why don't you come back and compare it next month? And I'm like, what, for the same money? Let's do that. Yeah, great.
And you were away. So are you on a lot of bills together as comics? Because I've seen you both together in the kids show.
So Gary doesn't really gig that much as a
Right.
solo act. He doesn't have the time or the dedication to it.
Right.
But he ran a lot of events and stuff like that. He likes putting his time into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like he loves doing that sort of thing, and he has big visions. And I joke about this, but in the comedy festival, Gary's job is to manage the comedy festival. My job is to manage Gary.
That's genius.
And it's why we work. He's the dreamer. I'm the realist. And no, but like it's one of them. We once we got the festival, we spent a lot of time together. And he's genuinely just one of my best friends in the whole world.
Oh, he's a lovely bloke. He really is.
Don't tell me I said this, but he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
He wants to be everyone's friend. He just enjoys making people laugh. You speak about Eric Morecambe never being off. Gary is never off. Sometimes I'm like, oh mate, stop it. But secretly, deep down, it wouldn't be Gary if he did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If I'm somewhere and Gary's not making jokes, I'm like, Gary, you need to step this up, or someone might talk to me and I get a
Can you remind him to come on here, please, on the podcast? Because I will absolutely him many times, and I know what you mean. I know he's a family man and everything. He must have commitments.
And now I'm friends with his family. I was at his wife's 40th, like his daughters and him come around here and watch Disney films.
Brilliant.
It's like I've been.
So do you live very near each other?
Well, we both live in Hull, but we spend a lot of time together. And like, I had a gig Saturday and the train's cancelled, so Gary was like, "I'll drive you down. It's only in York. We'll double it up. We'll talk to the comedy festival." So we do stuff like that, and
that's brilliant.
Yeah, he's just a great guy, and we hang out socially and stuff
so
like
good.
that.
It's such a good comedy partnership as well. It's lovely. It's
Thank
lovely.
you, man.
And following on from that, I really wanted to mention as well. I saw you at Leicester in 2023, and I had a great time with you. I went to the children's show.
Yeah.
And that was extraordinary. And one of my favourite photographs that I've got is you two. It was staged, but you're just about to pie me.
Yeah, we would have.
That's a great idea. How did the children's show come about?
Arrogance, I think. It's like any great idea. Basically, we started managing the festival, and there was just a slot on a Saturday morning, and we was like the thing with children's comedy is there's a lot of money in it because not many people can do it. Yeah. And we were a poor festival and we wanted a kids show, and we was like, why don't we just do it ourselves? And like any great idea, we just we back to forth it and we come up with this thing. It was called Jeddy Bear and Gary's Picnic at the time. It's now called Jeddy Bear and Gary Live. And we came up with this format and we were quite happy with it. It's weighted games, very simple. Adults first, kids. We make the adults look foolish. We want to bring back all the I like shows where you got gunged as a kid and stuff like that.
I love all that.
He's from a Tiswas area. So
I was going to say I was Tiswas' biggest fan.
Yeah, so we kind of want to get that chaotic energy.
Yeah.
Like my favorite review we've ever got is one woman went, "Oh, I didn't understand any of it. It was just silly nonsense, but the kids seemed to like it." And I was like, "That's my favorite."
That's the whole point.
That's exactly what I want. And so we did it. We did it as a one-off, and because we were around City Culture, they were in, and they went, "This show's brilliant. Can we have it for our thing?" And we were like, "This show? Yeah, we've been doing it a while." So, and then they threw a ludicrous amount of money at us and went, "Yeah, come do 4 shows." And we were like, it was meant to be a one-off. It was
That's
meant to be
brilliant.
A one-off show, just because we were too lazy to try and too broke to find another thing.
All the little ideas make it big.
Yeah, and then we went and toured everywhere. We did activity books. Brilliant. And it's a really good show. I remember when we did one of the festivals, because they asked questions and survey people, data collection. One of the dads was like, "Oh, I recently divorced their mum, and I see him on weekends, and this is the first time I've seen my kids sort of come alive and enjoy something since all that." And I was like, "Well, that's what it's about, man. It's just making sure people walk away happy. It's dumb fun." It's no pride in it. It's just dumb fun. We'll do fart noises. We'll do whatever we
I
need.
love
We'll
all
crack balls.
that.
If we can get a kid laughing, we'll do it. That's what we want. You know what I mean? We're not going to be like, oh, we're the best show ever. We're so smart. We're cutting edge. No, we're idiots, and we'll be an idiot for an hour, and it's the best thing in the world.
Well done, you. I mean, that is just perfect. That is brilliant, and keep doing it.
We will, yeah. Because Gary will make
I was going to move on to Hastings. I saw you at Hastings last year, 2022.
Yeah.
Recording this May 23, and I am going to the full festival. I've had the two on the podcast that run it, Chris and
terrible guys,
and
terrible.
They said to me, "We'd like you to be a judge, please, at the new Comedian of the Year." So, thank you. I'm going to the whole thing.
I think if there's anyone that should be a judge, it is you. You've seen more comedy than
seen
more comedy than me.
But if I get any sort of criticism, I like everything. But they said, no, it's all about the knowledge. You've got such a big knowledge of.
They can't all win, Rich. Is what I mean.
Anyway, I'm coming to see your solo show. This is what I'm getting round to. You've added an hour. You're doing 6:15 on the Friday.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to that, and then I'm going to Gary's big one on the Saturday. He's doing a big comedy, 11 comedians or something like that. Yeah. So he's going to host that. So I will see you there. That's basically it.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
It's going to be good. And Edinburgh, did you play Edinburgh at all? Or?
So I went to Edinburgh last year with Best in Class.
Right.
And we won Spirit of the Fringe Award.
You obviously have been to Edinburgh, and how did I miss that? Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it was a great opportunity. It was tough, man, because I was meant to go in 2019.
Right.
I was meant to be part of the Best in Class, and we I don't want to dwell too much on lockdown. I was due a good year. I was going to go and compare for the full month, and I was due it was meant to be a big year, and COVID took all that, so it felt so good. So I couldn't be there for the full month, but I went up for 10 days, and it felt so good to be part of the class that won the Dave.
That's fantastic.
The Fringe Award, and it meant so much to be Best in Class as well with some great comedians. It's such an honor that will be badged to my CV forever.
That's incredible, and well done, you. Well deserved. That's fantastic. Yeah. Talking about COVID, it was the only time, obviously, I missed the Edinburgh Fringe, but I've been every year since. How have you found, I don't know, you've done any online gigs as opposed to live gigs?
I did do online gigs throughout lockdown, and it was very soulless for me. It became a money situation, which I never liked. I did it purely for the money. I wasn't enjoying them. I had a few that were nice, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't right for me. It wasn't what I enjoyed doing. It wasn't why I did it. And it very, very much kind of, and even coming out of the pandemic, the money didn't return as quick as you thought. So you were doing a lot of horrible gigs, a lot of things you wouldn't do, posting things and stuff like that, just because, you needed to make up the wage, I guess. And it really sucked the soul out of it. And it wasn't until I went back to a day job, and I kind of now started choosing which gigs I do, because I don't need to go, I need to go do this horrible gig because I need to pay my rent. I found a good passion for it again, and really driving it home.
My view of it was it was thank God it was there, because there was nothing else. Obviously, the tragic comedy industry was decimated by it, and it was criminal. But to find a way of at least watching a show was better for me than nothing. And I would go to 3 in a week. I would go to Sean James did one on a Monday night. James Gill did one on a Wednesday night. and Charlotte Regan did an Irish one on a Friday night. But when they first started off, there was no audio, and we were all sitting in the front row like this, and I was laughing uncontrollably at four walls, and the people, the neighbours were like, "What the hell's going on?" And as soon as they brought the audio in, you could see the comedians could time the jokes and chat to the audience, etc., etc. But by God, I am so pleased live comedy is back. There is nothing better than going out for a meal or with your mates on a Saturday night, a few beers, and then go into a comedy show, sit down and say, right, make me laugh. And the major difference is it's of the moment. You're in that room on your own. You're in that room at that particular time.
Agreed. And some acts were really good at adapting to it, and God bless them. Yeah. It was, my friend Jack Ledo did his own little.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Friday night
show. Yeah. He's been on here. He's lovely. Yeah.
I found my creative. I did a little series called Jed Learns Things. It was me and my little brother, mainly to keep him busy as well during lockdown.
Yeah.
And we filmed like 3 sketches. But then also me and Gary filmed in half an hour Jeddy Bears for the Leicester Comedy Festival. We came up with like a pilot episode.
Yeah.
And that got nominated for the best kids show. So it was one of them like.
That's fantastic.
It wasn't all bad, but like it was very difficult process.
Oh, it was awful. You have to give the festivals credit for doing as much as they could online and keeping it, even if it was just chatting like we're doing. At least the comedians were there and they were trying to.
We got really lucky because we're later in the year.
Yeah,
that was November that we got to put on a 1-day event.
Yeah.
So we got real lucky that we got to do 1-day event, so we didn't miss out a year of the festival.
Yeah, very much so. Who are your favourite comedians, past and present? Who makes you laugh?
Oh man,
did you have comedy growing up?
So my first experience of stand-up, it was I'd been ill and I'd snuck downstairs and everyone else was in bed, and I don't remember anything from it, but I remember flicking on the BBC and it was showing a Lenny Henry special, and I remember laughing so much at that. That was my first experience of stand-up. Wow. And then my dad caught me laughing at that, and then like Eddie Murphy I grew up on, so like not so much. I didn't get Shirley Stand, but like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
I was into like I got a lot of comedy, but nothing.
Trading Places was brilliant.
Yeah, stuff like that. Holy Man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Always a fan of comedy growing up. Big fan of like Simpsons and situational comedies. Always watched like Live at the Apollo and stuff. For me growing up, it was common. You'd watch the same Lee Evans DVD on repeat 3 times.
Super.
Peter Kay was in his came up.
Yeah.
And I thought this was hilarious. And then I went to live comedy for the first time of like smaller shows, and it was Trevor Locke. He was the headliner. Joel Dommett was the middle. Nathan Caton was on. Andrew Ryan. They were the first 5 comedians I've ever seen. Yeah. And then I remember I saw Rob Rouse. He's always one of my personal favorites.
I love him. He's
worked with him twice in the last week, and it's so crazy. Good. The first time I saw him was one of his solo shows. My ribs constricted from laughing so much. I was in physical pain because I laughed so hard at his stuff, and I was like, "This is amazing." Russell Kane was a big fan of Russell Kane. His high energy. But then again, it's one of them. Like I saw him in Hull perform to 20 people in a small bar. Next year it was 40 people. Year after that, it was the local theatre in the small room, and then it was the local theatre in the bigger. Like I've watched him build up.
Watched him develop. That's one of the magic things about the blog, because I write every act that I see down where I see them, and watching them develop's extraordinary.
So he's the only actor as well that I really watched develop that I've not worked with yet.
Yeah,
so I think I would really love to work with Russell Kane.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
I've met him and we've had chats, and he's a lovely dude. But I think actually to gig with him would be
would be amazing. Yeah.
But then there's like like acts like Danny Deegan. He's probably one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
Yorkshire based, travels all over. But like the first time I saw him, I was like, "I'll never be this funny." Like, and now I work with him casually. You know what I mean? And it's one of them where these moments I'm in green rooms and I'm like, "Hang on, I've paid money to see all these guys."
Yeah, yeah.
And now we're just casual work friends.
It is amazing. It's so good. My first ever gig was Les Dawson at Salisbury, the Alan Ayckbourn Theatre. I was 7.
Wow.
Whatever the theatre was called then, and he was phenomenal. Yeah. And then a year later, we saw Tommy Cooper on Holiday, and that was just. I mean, I was crying at that, and I thought, right, I'm going to start writing everything down, and I wrote every single gig I've ever done, and that's how the book and the blog started, and all the rest of it.
My dad had a Benny Hill VHS.
Oh, wow.
And I watched that a lot, and I really liked Benny Hill. I thought he was hilarious.
Yeah, he was.
His characters, like I still remember all the sketches from that VHS. The Young Ones. I remember staying up and watching that. My dad was one of them where, like, if I showed an interest in something that he liked, he'd be like, "Why don't you stay up and watch it, son?" So, like,
what a cool dad!
yeah. Not so much. I mean, I failed my GCSEs, but I could tell you all about the
matter, you know. It was such a pivotal show.
Yeah. My parents are great. Like, my mum's a real fast talker, and my dad's really funny. And I like to think I've got the fastness of my mum and the funniness from my dad.
We have. Yeah. we were very, very lucky to see Rick Mail in Carlisle live, and he was extraordinary. The before he came on, there was the music of the Muppet Show intertwined with Dallas. It was on a scratch record.
Yeah.
Damn, and he'd play it again, and then the lights went down. And he jumped on, the lights went up, and his trousers exploded, and that was it. He was away.
Love it.
The young ones.
Drop Dead Fred was
yeah. What a film.
Rick Meal was like great. And then I like a lot of alternative comedy that I'm nothing like. I often find now that I'm in the industry, I guess, I am more attracted to and find comedy that's not like what I do funnier, because I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Andrew O'Neill is one of my favorite comedians.
Oh, brilliant.
First time I ever gigged with him was the first time I got booked to a middle on a pro set, and now, you know, I've done support on tour for him. I see him every time I'm up in Edinburgh and stuff like that.
That's great.
And he makes me laugh because his mind works completely different to mine, and it's one of them where, I don't know if you've ever studied media or anything like that, but like I did film studies, and like it's hard to switch off.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's the establishing shot like that. So when I see a comedian who's hilarious but isn't like me, I can switch it off because I'm not thinking where's he going with his punchline. I'm just enjoying comedy.
Yeah, and that's what's not to love. You know, it's as simple as that. I can remember first coming down to London. My first ever comedy store gig was Richard Morton, John Maloney, Phil Jupitus, Linda Smith, God bless her, and top of the bill was Charles Fleischer, who nobody had ever heard of. He was an American comedian who was brilliant with voices, and he was never heard of again because he went to Hollywood and he voiced Roger Rabbit. And it was like, this is incredible. And then I would go there a lot. I go to Headliners a lot in London. I go to Obviously Comedy a lot. But I just absolutely love it. I was there right throughout the 80s with Frank Skinner, French and Saunders, Victoria Wood, Joe Brand. Goes on and on and on and on and on. And I saw Peter Kay in a room in Manchester before he was famous. He was 5. Yeah. There was 5 on the bill. He was 4th on. And I said to my friend, this fella's going to be a superstar. And I laughed so hard at him, I missed the 5th act. And I had to go up a month later and apologise to Dave Gorman, who was the 5th act. And he went, "Oh, it was you. I did hear you."
Yeah. Sometimes, like, you do just see it. Like, even as someone who's regular on the circuit, you can see an act one year, and then a year later, there's just something, same set, something different where you're like, you clicked it, you're going to be a star. I remember
it is extraordinary. It was similar with Michael McIntyre. I saw him in a hut in Edinburgh, and he was doing his man draw routine then, and the 100 people in that hut were crying at him, and it was just the ability to do it. And on the podcast, I was extremely lucky to interview Barry Cryer, and I was probably the last person to interview him before he sadly passed on. That man was a genius. And of course, his McIntyre's dad worked with Barry Cryer on Kenny Everett's show, and so Cryer was brilliant at supporting all the new comics. So he would always give McIntyre a little plug and everything. It's wonderful, you know, how they all start. Alan Davis is another one. I saw him in a club in I think it was Newcastle or Manchester. And he was doing an hour, and they loved it. And he said, if everybody wants to go to the bar, I'm just going to carry on and talk to this wall. I'm fine. I'll just be here. And they all came back, and he did another half an hour. Just magic moments like that. My favourite opening line ever was from Harry Hill. Who I first saw 30 years ago downstairs at the King's Head in Crouch End. And I used to go there all the time. I've just been to the 40th birthday, and the lineup there was incredible. But Harry Hill was late for the gig. He jumped onto the stage. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry I'm late. I had to have a testicle brought down." And there was a pause, and he said, and a laugh, and he said, "From Derby." And when I met him 25 years later, I told him this. He went, "Rich," he said, "I still tell that all the time." Just a wonderful man. Al Murray's another one. Absolutely love Al Murray. He headlined the 40 years at the King's Head, and he's famous for spilling beer on the audience because he gets so enthusiastic. And he saw me sitting in the front row and just poured beer over me. I was drenched, and I loved it.
That's great.
He's done this.
My only problem with living in Hull and sort of being kind of isolated in the north, like, you don't get stuff like that in Hull or in this area. You know,
that's why I like to travel around, though. Yeah. I like the best of both worlds. Carlisle is very good for what it is, because they've got the Sand Centre there, the theatre, and they do have a little club which has it's like a music thing and comedians, so a lot of them do play there. And I always look out for when I'm there, if there's anybody on. But I'm so looking forward to coming to Hull Comedy Festival, because I want to see what it's all about. I've never been to it before, and I'm going to make a point of doing it.
It's a good festival. I think we're good at. You know, we're not a well-funded festival. We do it out of love, not out of profit or anything like that.
Yes, of course.
And we try and, you know, we mix it up. We don't. It's not a straight stand-up festival. We like to mix it up. We have some great acts, and, you know, some of the acts that are debuted in the festival have gone on to great things. So
brilliant.
We're very happy with it.
That's brilliant. One of the sections in my blog is called The Ones That Got Away. And I've written 25 comedians who have either sadly passed away or I just hadn't had a chance to see. And top of the tree for me was Morecambe and Wise. I would have loved to have seen them. That's the reason why the blog exists. I just to the twiddle of the glasses for him, or the hat with Tommy Cooper, or the fez. Anything like that was extraordinary. It was another level, I think. And Dave Allen was another one who I almost got a chance to go and see. I would have loved to have seen him. And I'm moving on to my next question. Like me, have you ever, or do you now, go to comedy as a member of the audience?
Yeah, quite often, actually.
Yeah.
I say It's less and less because I tend to work weekends and stuff like that. But I
Right.
recently travelled down to London to go see Taylor Tomlinson,
Oh, brilliant.
an American comedian. She did 3 sellout nights at the Palladium. One of the best hours of stand-up I have ever seen.
And that's the magic when you're there. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Absolute killer. She talks about exactly what I was feeling in the moment without even thinking it. She talks about things that I related in my life. She was like, here's the situation I'm in, and it related to me so much. Me and my best friend saw it, and it was one of them where you're like, he's a stand-up as well, where you're like, how incredible. Like, do you know when you're just like, that was incredible? And so yeah, I tend to do like occasional acts like that, or if there's a show that where there's an act I really like, I'll pop in. And I really like keeping a tab on open mic scenes in my area.
Yeah.
I like seeing who's coming up. And I also, my favorite comedy is to see the workings of comedy. Like, do you know where you like people where I'm like, okay, they're like, there's a magic in I'm trying to figure it out that I really like seeing. And it's good, but unfortunately I feel like the Godfather at the moment, because like they'll do a bit and then they'll come to me and be like, "Hey, what did you think?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "So
I'm like that because I've seen so many."
Yeah.
One of the wonderful things about the blog is it's not just championing established acts; it's going for new acts as well, and to go and see a new, or to go and see a comedian that I've never seen before, never heard of before, and there's something about them that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Is amazing. It's just the best feeling in the world. Would you say, if you're on a bill of comedians or you're the compere, would you stay and watch them all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I as a compare, I tend to watch all the acts anyway, just
Yeah.
because people are what's going on in the room. I don't like doubling too much because I
Right.
like being in the room.
Yeah.
There's some acts, one of my favorite acts is Andrew Ralston, who's one of my best friends, and we
He's
started our
lovely.
careers together.
Yeah.
And he's brilliant but lazy, right?
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
my favorite act to watch because no matter how many times I've seen him, still makes me laugh, and there's always something different. And I mean, I'm a fan of comedy. It's why I'm in it. So
Good
love
man.
watching the acts.
Well,
And
long may it continue, my friend.
yeah,
Um, do you just before we go, and I've so much enjoyed talking to you. Is there
likewise.
anything else you'd like to say where people can find you on social media?
I'm just at Jed and Breakfast
Nice.
on Instagram. Thank you. Do you know the Cagoules?
Yes.
Yeah. Randomly, like after changing it to randomly 2 years later, Claire from the Cagoules just went, "It took me 2 years, but I've just realised your Instagram username is a pun." And I was like, "Yep, it is." Yeah.
Good man. Good man. And have you got any tours or any shows that you want to plug? Or
I've got my solo show coming up at the Hastings Comedy Festival. It is a work in progress.
yeah.
Which I will, when this goes out, I will, I think I'm going to call it Foil Sick, which is embarrassment after you reveal too much of yourself.
Lovely.
So I think that's a fun title to have. So I think it's going to be that, and I'm hopefully going to be getting that right this year, and then touring it around festivals next year.
Brilliant. And you're doing you're doing the kids show again, aren't you?
Yeah, we'll be working on our third one, which is the Chaos of Chemistry.
Oh, I'm there.
Or the Chemistry
Definitely.
of Chaos. Yeah.
It's
Could be a science-based one.
Oh,
So
superb. It's the Saturday morning, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
it is, yeah.
I'm
The
definitely
Hastings
there.
one is our old show, but by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be the new show.
I'm definitely there, and I'm going to drag my two friends along with me who will love it.
Okay. They're going to think they're having a mental breakdown. That's funny. Because I do every time I do it.
And give one final plug again to the Hull Comedy Festival. When is it, please?
The Hull Comedy Festival is the 31st of October to the 18th of November, and we're kicking off on Halloween with Elvis Dead. Very excited for that. And we've got shows going on from free shows to theatre shows to big shows. Should be a great festival. Get down to Hull. It's a great
Brilliant.
night
No,
out.
I'm definitely going to be there, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you in Hastings, both of you. It's going to be
You too, man.
going to have such a good laugh, and thank you for being such a fantastic guest. I could talk to you all night.
Yeah, same here, man. I've got no else on. Let's just stop recording.
Well, all the very best to you, and you
You
take
too,
care.
Richard. Thank you very much. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thanks now. Bye bye.